Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change, joined as always on Tuesdays and Thursdays by Garrick, Hodge, and Mark Porter. It is the first day of next season. Get that optimism flared up. The Indiana Hoosiers beat the Miami Hurricanes in the national championship game. Was quite an entertaining game. I thought a really well-played game. It's kind of interesting, as always. We're going to shine this through the scarlet and gray lens. Those are the two teams that beat Ohio State. I didn't come out of that feeling like either one of those was a fluke. I thought both those teams were really good. I don't have faith in Carson Beck long term. I said I watched the game with the sound down. My guy looks tweaked, and on that last drive, I just didn't really think it was going to happen. And if not for a roughing the passer penalty, that game would probably ended without any drama. So what does this mean? The Hoosier daddies. I mean, there's a lot that's going to be said about this big picture in terms of Coach Signetti getting it done at Indiana, which I believe was the losingest team in college football history. It's also a third straight Big Ten team, three different teams. Used to be the argument about the SEC, the Alabama, LSU, Auburn argument, winning championships. Now we got it. What jumps out at you, Garrick, after Ohio State finishes number 3 in the hearts of many?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't start the show. I know we're not an Indiana podcast, but all things considered, when I was watching that, and the seconds ticked down and they just finally made the interception to seal the victory, I thought to myself, this is probably the most astounding accomplishment in sports in my entire life. I wasn't around for the Miracle on Ice in 1980. That's the only thing. Yep, that's the only thing that I thought that clearly trumps this. But and I'm sure I'm forgetting a ton of other things due to recency bias. But Dan, like you said, this was the worst team statistically by winning percentage in the history of college football. And then Curt Signetti takes over this program 2 years ago and acts like he just took over Ohio State. Goes 11-1 his first season with a MAC quarterback, and then gets a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and completes a 16-0 perfect season that Steve Sarkisian says isn't possible, not even 11 months ago anymore. So all the credit in the world to Curt Signetti. Love him or hate him, he is a damn good head coach. He is, my nickname for him is the excuse shatterer. Oh, you can't win a first-round bye game in the college football playoff? Yeah, try me. I'm going to win 38-3. Oh, you need time to build a roster? Yeah, try me. I'm going to take half my team from James Madison and go 11-1 with guys you've never heard of in my first year. Oh, you can't beat the Blue Bloods at Indiana? I beat all of them. I don't need to spend the whole show glossing over Indiana, but I'd be remiss if I didn't give all the credit in the world to Indiana and just say what a remarkable accomplishment that is. And you have to tip your cap, because at the end of the day, I don't know if we're ever going to see anything like it again in our lifetime. This would be like if Vanderbilt goes 16-0 next year and wins the national championship. That would essentially be the equivalent of it. But yeah, in terms of the game itself, I mean, they were very well coached. Again, as we said, their discipline on every level of both units continues to astound me. Their trench play was outstanding, especially considering how vaunted Miami's offensive line was, and Indiana consistently found ways to take down the running game, especially in the first half. They finally got it going a little bit more in the second half. But, yeah, and I'll give some credit to Miami too. I mean, their trench play on both sides of the ball, that's why they're in the national championship game. The reason why they almost didn't make it and they were the last team in is, like Dan said, Carson Beck had a tendency for turnovers, and all 3 of their losses this year came on a one-possession game on a back-breaking turnover, and that's what sealed it every single time. And, hey, you can't crap too much on Carson Beck, because it was a net positive for your return on investment. He got you to the national championship. In those 3 playoff games, he did his job by not screwing it up and letting his defense carry him for the most part, and letting his playmakers, running back Mark Fletcher and Malachi Toney, do the work on short passes. But what does it mean for the Buckeyes? Well, the only 2 losses Ohio State had was to the 2 teams in the national championship, and they hunt around with both of them. Obviously, there's no moral victories in Columbus, so we're not going to claim any. But I'd be excited for next season. I think that they're, based on their transfer portal strategy, they are, to a degree, following the Indiana method of prioritizing experienced players. They've brought in 16 incoming transfers, and of those 16, 15 of them are very experienced, and the one that isn't also played a little bit in his freshman year. And Georgia people, this is Dominic Kelly, who I'm referencing, the cornerback from Georgia, are very high on his future and think he's a future star at cornerback. So that's a high upside guy you can't not take a chance on. So, yeah, 15 of the 16 transfers are experienced guys who are probably going to see a lot of action next season. So to a degree, yeah, of course they're affecting transfer portal strategies and roster building construction. And like the NFL, college football is a copycat league. They look to see what works and what doesn't work on other teams. And a lot of other teams not named Ohio State are going to try to replicate the success that Indiana had, and a lot are going to fail trying. But, I mean, I'll end with tip your cap to them. We're never going to see a run like that again. And, hey, they hit on so many players that nobody else gave a second look to and that you never heard of. And all the credit in the world to Fernando Mendoza. Is going to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft, Indiana's first Heisman candidate, and he was the perfect quarterback for that team.
Mark, Ohio State fans who couldn't get tickets for Ohio State games at home, which are difficult, used to go get them at Columbus West, which was Bloomington, Indiana. No longer are they the tomato can to get kicked around. Your thoughts? I mean, you've seen Indiana recruit now over a long period of time. I believe they're a client of Scouting Ohio. Just your thoughts on what he's done, maybe from a global perspective, and then thoughts on the Bucks.
Yeah, Garrick, I thought that was a nice stream of consciousness. I agreed with all of it. You know, like, you got to tip the cap to him. And it started with you. Like, they were traditionally a whipping boy. They were traditionally get MAC plus prospects for years where they weren't winning a lot of head-to-head Big Ten battles. You know, if you had an Indiana offer and a Wisconsin offer, it seemed like Wisconsin would win, or maybe other schools would win. And in this new era, and Dan's kind of flipped over, where it's very cynical and money wins. And when you see Mark Cuban sitting in the stands for Indiana, you kind of have like someone's twirling their evil mustache, and there's someone funding this and making this possible, whether it's the coaches' contracts, the players' contracts. And do you think they're going to have trouble re-signing anybody in the offseason with Mark Cuban sitting there when they say, hey, we need to give this guy this much to come back? Here's the check. So I think, Garrick, I don't know, you said this can't be duplicated, but there's another Mark Cuban out there with a checkbook somewhere, and they're going to try to. And they're saying that, wow, that this was done. Two teams that were buying players for the last couple of years made it to the end, and like you're saying, let's duplicate it. And there's going to be some guys who buy some trash. They're going to be teams that spend, and like you say, it's going to go down big. The next part of it I wanted to point out is we're trying to relate this to Ohio State, and we've been killing our offensive line. Every time we do a chat or a question, our offensive line can't block. Did you guys watch that game? Kirk Signetti, the first thing he said after the game,
I heard it. Yeah.
We could not block them and protect our quarterback. Okay? And we want Carter Smith. We're crying we didn't get him. He jumped off sides on the key drive at the end. Okay? Like,
he got beat. Mesidor used him up.
I'm not doing that to like say, okay, offense, but everybody's offensive line becomes average when you see freaks that those two teams had. Indiana had freaks on their D-line. Miami's freak. Oh my God, Bain. We're going to hear about him in the NFL. That is
Time out. He's really good. The guy who made himself the most money last night is Akeem Mesidor. Because I'm just telling you, I mean, go ahead. That guy's played himself into the first round.
So what I want to point out is there wasn't an offensive line in college football this year that handled those two defensive lines, that escaped those two teams without some damage, without some very horrible, like, reverse highlights, their linemen getting posterized, you know, like that type of play where we saw a few of our guys get posterized. We're like, wow, he just ran right by you, or that X stunt really got you. That's happening to everybody. And everybody says, let's fix this. There aren't humans out there that can fix this. This is just the nature of the game. You try to play through it. You hope those guys don't do too much damage when you play them. You hope you have a plan to double Bain or chip Bain. You know, like, and you go through all these things. But at the end of the day, I want to say that the Ohio State offensive line is not inferior. It's not horrible. We don't need to bring in 7 transfer portal guys. We're that close. And like I said, if they progress, get stronger, a little more cohesive, those are the things you hope will help them deal with defensive linemen when they run into them like this, wherever it may be, regular season, postseason. But I think, those defensive lines destroyed both sides of the ball. So that's the last part. And then, like I said, this Cuban factor, even John Cougar Mellencamp, like you bring all these famous people in, and that's like a new part of this recipe of whining and dining kids and, showing them a little extra where it's not about the locker room or the weight room anymore. It's more about these guys signing the checks and the stability. And then Kurt Signetti, to me, is an Alabama guy. He's not James Madison or any of these other schools he's come through. He's Saban's right-hand man at a key time in Alabama's history. So he's coming and putting that template in Indiana. And, I know he gets a lot of credit. It looks like he rose up from FCS and, he's got that type of resume. But I think what we're seeing in Indiana is more Alabama. And, with all these, we're going to do a video in the second half. I'll kind of tease that where, Garrick, you said it, experienced guys, okay, over 5-star guys that have been trained up. Okay, 5-star freshmen, we'll say 5-star freshmen. I'll clarify that. But let's
see, to me, it's you got to find the blend, because as much as Mendoza was just a transfer from Cal, that's a 5-star. You got the number 1 pick in the draft to transfer to your school. That is a massive transfer, man. And I know we didn't make as big of a deal of it. And I don't think Mendoza is some earth-shattering, but the fact that you could go into the portal and get the number 1 pick in the draft is a big deal.
Now, he wasn't that when they got
him. I get that, but
remember,
he is that.
He came out of high school as a nobody, and this is well documented. He, through experience, like you're saying, like he's a 5th-year guy or 4th year. He's got the experience now where it kind of meets that criteria. But, the 5 stars, if you can get them experience. But, boy, these guys we're bringing in, we're going to see video of, are going to be more of this James Madison mold than our 5-star mold. We lost a lot of guys. We lost some 4 stars that we like. We're going to bring them in, and a lot of these guys have experience and training and reps. And, boy, let's bank on that now, because that's what we have.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a perfect system to this, obviously. You know what I mean? You got to catch lightning in a bottle to some extent. And the rules have been different, I feel like, the last 3 seasons anyway. Am I wrong on that? They kind of get tweaked. So you're kind of adjusting on the fly. You know what I mean? We got the new transfer portal window this time, whereas Ohio State was forced because they went to the championship last year to play catch up. So I do think you need to have a blend of the players. Because like Reuben Bain, he's from Miami, dude. There's pictures of him like in 4th grade doing this stuff, little chunker. So I think you need a blend. And I do think
I should have said that a little better, but
that's all right.
I think we've got the point that, don't be afraid of these transfers with experience anymore, because maybe they didn't come out, as the 5-star. And I should have said I won't take 5 stars. I will definitely take 5 stars. That's a crazy statement by me. I'm sorry.
It's like this. It reminds me. I had an internship with the NBA team one time, and this was their rule: don't pick the outlier. Don't try and pick the outlier. But if you miss on the outlier, you're fired.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a hard job. And you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of variables that go into it. Picking players and personnel is hard. So let's put a bow on the season. No more talk of John Camp Cougar Melon. I actually saw him in concert here in Campfield a few years ago. And the security detail, like they're saying, he got in a fight with him. I think he got in a fight with the security detail here. He was nice.
Tough to deal with, they told me. So,
slight aside, I used to wait on his ex-wife at the Salty Dog Pier. And she and her friend would come in there, and they like to put him away. So that's all I remember. But financial independence is a wonderful thing. Okay. Putting that behind us, where do you rank the Buckeyes for the season? Are they the clear number 3, And then where do you think they'll end up in the rankings? I mean, you don't have to be exact here. Just kind of your vibe. Let's put the final words on 25 for this show in the books on the Buckeyes. Garrick, you're up.
Yeah, I'd put them 3. I think they would have beaten Ole Miss. They certainly would have beaten Oregon. I think they will probably finish somewhere like 5th because I think most AP poll voters are generally not going to put a team that lost in the quarterfinals in that top 4. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think they'll also want to reward Ole Miss for a historical season for them too, considering how toxic things got at the end with the Lane Kiffin drama and things of that nature. I think Oregon might be penalized a little bit, so I could see Ohio State sneaking into 4th with some AP voters, especially with just how decimated they got by Indiana. But personally, I would put Ohio State 3. I don't think you can put them any higher than that. You can make the argument that they beat Miami 7 out of 10 times, but, they didn't. So, and then Miami continued to prove it in their playoff run, and they won 3 straight up until they took Indiana down to the wire and couldn't get it done. But I'd say 3 is more than fair, but I think what will likely happen is they'll end up being 4 or 5.
Marcus?
Yeah, that's a fair argument. I look at our field goal kicker. If our field goal kicker makes 2 kicks,
Holy
Miami
cow.
and Indiana aren't a problem, and you may beat them and you may be 1. I think it was that close. And because I understand game flow, I know what those missed kicks did to the game flow for the rest of the game. It forever changed the play calling and scenarios. And that possession on both those games was huge. So I think when you say we played both of those teams within a possession, we were legitimately a play away from beating both of those teams or a few plays. That gives you that real strong argument to be 3 because you're right there. But I think you're right, Garrick, that the way these teams vote, they're not going to, if you get knocked out in the first round, give you that much love. They're not going to look at the score and say close doesn't count. But I do have a feel, and I feel like in my heart the Buckeyes were the best team. Like if you said tomorrow
Here's the
morning,
question now.
if you said tomorrow morning, like, who would you want to play Indiana again? It has the best chance to beat them. It's Ohio State.
Let me rock the hosting skills here. If these teams, let's say there's a couple weeks off, on a neutral field, so no weather related, no fan, take out all the other Ohio State, Indiana on a neutral field, Vegas would favor Ohio State. I think so. It'd be close. It would not be more than 3. Garrick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the debate with the whole AP poll in general. Like, how much do you weigh power rankings, which is like basically weighed on point spreads, like who would be the favorite on a neutral field versus results on the field, right? And what's more impressive that way. So hence why I put Ohio State 3rd. Like, you can't feasibly put them over the 2 teams that beat them. And
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if they played in Vegas,
yeah,
if they played in Vegas, that'd be fun.
That would be
boondoggle on that one. Back to if they played on a neutral field. I'm just trying to get the sense of where everything stands right now. And then
you're saying if we started the playoff over today and they got lined
no, because I don't want to take away Indiana credit. I'm saying even with everything that's happened. Okay. If in 2 weeks, who would be favored?
I would think Indiana would be a slight favorite over Ohio State. But
how about Miami and Ohio State?
I think Ohio State would probably be a 3-point favorite over Miami.
Okay. It's just interesting.
Yeah, that is. And I think that's the point where I think we all know Ohio State had that week of recruiting and signing day, and they didn't come Indiana as up as Indiana came into that game. And yeah, we sound like Ohio State homers saying, "Oh, if we played you again, we'd win." But
no, I'm just saying what Vegas.
I think it's a legitimate argument that we, in rankings perspective, I think when you ask this question, who would Indiana most not want to have to play against, Miami or us? A disciplined, pissed off Ohio State team or the talented
Signetti
Miami.
knows, dude.
Yeah,
I think Indiana would be the only team that would be favored over Ohio State on Vegas odds.
And they earned that through that run. They earned it.
No. Indiana is as deserving a national champion. I mean, there is nothing you can say. Yeah. Nothing. Zero.
I don't want to sound like Ohio State fans. Like,
no, that's not what I'm saying. I want to be clear on that.
We're on 100% agreement that they earned their
100%. Yeah. I mean, I can't. Respect. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a more clear.
And the third thing,
especially after Garrick said Sarkisian came out and said that about undefeated. I've been told that behind closed doors by people I really trust, who are like, "This is no one will go undefeated again," and that, like NFL people. So Signetti has upset the apple cart. All right, let's talk
one last point.
There's always one more. Go ahead,
Signetti
Mark.
The most cocky but classy guy you've met. Like, he's confident and he'll tell you what he's thinking, but his team's classy. His team's disciplined. They have Mendoza's like this great leader, but in his interviews, he like the things he said about in his first interview, screw all these other teams. I mean, he's got a little streak to him, but he's also got a respect and like an old man classiness that kind of, it's like a fighting yin and a yang for him.
I think if you actually look at his interviews this year, he didn't really run his mouth that much.
Yeah.
He's basically the clip you see is like the Tressel clip when he first got hired at Ohio State that lasted forever, when he said, we'll come back and beat that team up north. That's kind of what it's dealing with.
I kind of have a theory that the whole like Purdue sucks and so does Michigan and Ohio State and Google me, I win bit was just Curt Signetti playing a wrestling character. Like, I think that was him trying to look, man, nobody is talking about Indiana football right now.
Beyond that, everyone's telling them they suck. Here's someone's going to come in and say the opposite.
Our alumni think that we're losers. Our donors think that we're losers. No one wants to come to an Indiana game where they're going to lose to Ohio State by 55. I need to inject some life into this program. And if I have to eat crow, then so help me God, I'll sit there and I'll take it. But these donors need something to be excited about. They need, and if all it is I get a lot of attention that points and laugh at me, at least people are talking about us. When they talk about Indiana, it's about how much of a doormat you've been and how much of a non-factor you are in the sport. And then as they sort of prove that on the field, the wrestling bit character that Signetti was playing kind of dissipated and slowly morphed into who I think he is, like Mark was saying, a confident, cocky, yet also classy type of dude. And the wrestling bit, now that the sport is respecting what he does, it hasn't really taken over since then. Because really since his Google me, I win, and Purdue sucks, and so does Michigan and Ohio State, he hasn't made comments like that since then. I
know, but here's the thing. Now they're going to face a lot of what Ohio State faces, where you better not miss on the 5-star. They're going to want you to go pay for that guy, and that's not your formula. Right? Yeah. So can you blend that new formula? Look, Curt Signetti is a verb now, right? He's a verb. Can you Signetti it? Oh, we're going to need to pull a Signetti. That means rebuild your program from nothing, right? If someone came up to you and said, man, Canfield needs to pull a Signetti, you would know exactly what they were talking about.
How about the Browns pull a Signetti? Wouldn't that be nice? Or the
Bengals? The Steelers. How about the Steelers? That's the one team.
That would be helpful. If some team
He's an
like
older
that,
fella now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is going to happen, and I will say I would bet big money this doesn't happen. But people dream. And that accent, a lot of football coaches with that accent dream of being the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you get one chance. How old is he? 66? 67 years old?
The next time
that job of a 23-year-old like Nick Saban again. I don't want to go into that walnutty.
64.
You aren't getting another chance, dog. This is it. Now, he probably won't do that. But imagine the ride home. You're driving. You're probably not by yourself. But imagine that drive home by yourself as Signetti now, when you're like, oh, my God, I can literally go become the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So when he hears his grandparents talk in that accent, you can't understand, right? They're from Pittsburgh, dude. If you know anybody from Pittsburgh, they're still celebrating Mike Tomlin leaving. That's how you know they're actually from Pittsburgh. It is a big deal, man. People dream about being the Pittsburgh Steelers coach. So that is me hoping Curt Signetti hears this, gets a vibe, and leaves Indiana. That I'm doing my part. I think everyone should do theirs. Okay.
Manifest it.
Here's the question I want to ask, and this is now we're going to get to the offensive transfer videos. We've got a breakdown of each guy, and I think it's going to be very interesting, and you're going to be very happy afterwards because I helped Mark put together the video, and I'm way more impressed than I was before I started. But here, I think, is a major topic in Buckeye land right now. people are not psyched about Julian Sayin. I am surprised at how many people are negative about him, who talk about his inability to rush being the reason we lose. The lack of faith going forward next year with him as the quarterback, I find actually a little bit surprising. Garrick, I'm going to come to you first on this. Are you surprised by this? Do you see this as the issue? I mean, to me, the idea of bringing back Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith is a major advantage going into next season. Bringing back an offense that's almost completely intact when we all know for a fact that roster upheaval across the board is so exaggerated these days. I would think better chance to hit the ground running. But people say, no, the schedule's too hard. He's too skinny. Seeing that game come down to a quarterback sneak. By the way, timeout. Making a great play in a football at the end of the game does not give you the right to take your helmet off and get a stupid-ass penalty for your team. Stop doing that, everybody. They had to do those last 2 snaps from the goal line. That was like all the right moves coming back to you right there.
Didn't
Garrick,
Buckeye do that at the Michigan game, though?
No doubt. Garrick, your thoughts on Julian Sayin, just your vibe on the future, and do you think you can win with him, et cetera?
Yeah, to answer your first question, am I surprised that this has been the reaction? No, not really. I've been around.
But as vehement as it is?
I'm not really surprised because I've been around long enough that when Ohio State loses, every single component gets over-scrutinized and a lot of what went wrong here in every single area. It's kind of like what I kind of hold the theory, kind of similar to Mark with the offensive line, that things are never as good or as poor as it looks as the main narrative. But in terms of do I think they can win with Julian Sayin? Absolutely. I mean, the guy's a first-time starter, and he's a Heisman finalist. The guy looked to be the best quarterback in all of college football through the first 12 games. Now, you could take that as a blight on Ohio State's schedule, even though that's more of Ohio State's opponents for the first 12 games failed to show up rather than anything Ohio State did or didn't do. But yeah, of course you can win with him. This is a guy that threw for 30 touchdowns in his first year as a full-time starter. I think his release and his mechanics are completely wonderful. And he's got the best receiver in the country coming back when Jeremiah Smith. Now, he won't have Carnell Tate, and they're going to have to establish a second wide receiver, and we're going to surely get into the film of 2 of these new wide receivers that Ohio State kind of picked up, along with Brandon Inniss, and, of course, Chris Henry Jr. is going to be a factor here too. But, yeah, Dan, you got right into the point that I really wanted to make, that people say it's a tough schedule. I've never seen the schedule that's been more brutal for Ohio State, at least in recent memory. Well, we have all offseason to get into it, but the short point of it is that you have to face defending national champion Indiana on the road. You have to face Texas on the road. You have to face Iowa and Nebraska on the road, 2 places that are not easy places to play, even though you'll have the talent advantage. You have to face USC on the road. You face Michigan at home. It just goes on and on and on and on. And then you face Illinois at home. That's not going to be an easy team to play either. Anyway, it goes on. But the point being, I absolutely need an experienced quarterback to handle that storm. When you're going to be in at least 7 coin flip games, you need that steady and calming presence. And I tend to think that Mark always likes to make the point that theoretically, as a year progresses and they get one more year into the college system, their Madden ratings, if you want to call it that, go up by 7 points. Julian's only going to get better from what he experienced the last 2 games, where he really experienced frantic pressure in the pocket for the first time all year. That's been the first time he's ever experienced that. What do you think the coaching points are going to be all spring, all offseason? You step up here, you lock into your receiver here, you throw it away here. Maybe this time you don't hold on to the ball a little too long. And if you are looking for a silver lining, he's now gone through that adversity, and he's not, the Indiana game was honestly the first adversity he had gone through in terms of the pressure that was put on him. I mean, Indiana had more sacks in that one game than Ohio State had allowed all year. So that was the first time you'd kind of seen anything like that. And I think he's only going to grow from it. He's a very steady and composed young man. I think he's going to be better for it. So, yeah, can you win with him? Of course you can. He's a Heisman finalist in his first year, and I think he's only going to get better. And not that PFF ratings are everything, but he was the highest graded PFF player all year. And that
not
means
quarterback.
Yeah.
player.
Yes, he does. That means, for lack of a better term, he does his job he makes the right read 92% on every play. So do I think you can win? Of course I do.
Mark?
Okay, so I want to put on my scouting hat for this and not do like a personal attack on a player or whatever. It's a skill set we're talking about. And there's an irony in this, and it's like funny. Like college coaches will tell me the most important trait for a quarterback is completing passes. Okay, accuracy, completing passes. I don't care if it's sidearm, over the top, be consistent, do that. Julian Sayin is a 99 overall rating for that type of accuracy and, setting his feet, mechanics, and being able to repeatedly throw a spiral to a very small target. Okay. Now, it seems like God never gives that quarterback an athletic feat or a big frame. And when he does, it's historic and it ends up in the NFL. But it seems like you're really accurate or you're really fast. You're never really both. Okay. So the criticism, if you were doing the Madden ratings and you do those little slider things, is Julian's frame is not big. There's no way to get around that. He's 6 foot. He's around 200 pounds. He's got some thickness to him, but he wouldn't be considered the 6'5" Tavian St. Clair that, wow, that's the prototypical, Cam Newton and Dante Culpepper and all these new age quarterbacks, the Justin Herberts. They're all built in that big 6'5" frame. So I see fans knocking that, and there's nothing you can do. So it's like, boy, you have this 99 overall here, but you have him not at a 99 overall for size. You want to bring in the next guy who's got speed and agility and can run, but guess what? He's going to throw it at the feet of your guy, Jeremiah Smith, when he's wide open on the hitch a few times, and it's going to drive you insane. And at the end of the year, you're going to say, if we could just get a quarterback that complete passes, we'd be going to the next level. Justin Fields, there's a very good example of that.
Justin Fields or C.J. Stroud?
Yeah, C.J. Stroud yesterday. So, boy, it's like we got to have it all. Now, just like Garrick said, what do you think Julian's reading and listening to all offseason? Knuckleheads like us can't run, too small, whatever. He'll use his feet. He'll make some plays with his feet next year. Baker Mayfield, if Julian Sayin gets to 210 pounds, which wouldn't be, hey, Julian, in the offseason, get some protein, beef up, put some shoulders on, be able to take a few shots, get into your second or third year here. It's not saying he can't do that. I love the Drew Brees comparison, but Drew never ran either, or the Brock Purdy. I remember at a podcast a couple months ago, we did the Joe Montana comparison. He's compared to some pretty good ones. So you don't want to get mad. This field goal kicker who missed these kicks is killing the offensive line and quarterback right now, because we're going deep into the criticism of anything we can find to pin this on someone else. And really, here's the honesty of all football. You got to be 2 possessions better than people. You can't be depending on a field goal kicker. So from that rationale, they just fired the Buffalo Bills head coach. If that ball was a catch, he's on to the next round and he's not fired. But his job wasn't to leave a game to where it came down to a catch. Beat someone by 10 points in the fourth quarter where, hey, when a field goal kicker misses or someone breaks away for a touchdown or someone fumbles and there's that fluke play, it doesn't cost us our season. So it's kind of like the rest of the team's responsibility to not put it on the kicker. That may fall on Julian Sayin and the offensive line. Okay, build up a lead so we're not worried about it. But, boy, we diving into some players' weaknesses here the last couple weeks because, this is Ohio State, though. This is what you do when you're shooting for a national championship.
Let me ask you this, Mark, and this is just to give some context. Nobody talks to college coaches more than Mark. His real job is he runs Scouting Ohio, which is the premier database for Ohio talent. And he gets to talk to coaches at a lot of schools that aren't Ohio State. How do you think other schools would feel about Ohio State fans complaining about Julian Sayin coming back?
They would not like it. They hate it. They can't stand it. It's an embarrassment of riches here. And they would die to coach any of the players, let alone Julian Sayin. And then that brings you to the next point. If you don't like Julian, please tell me which quarterback you want. Be like, okay, Dream, tell me which one you're going to steal. You're going to steal Underwood from Michigan? Do you think he's the answer? Or are you going to go steal, the next, whoever it is, Ty Simpson?
Darian Mensah?
Yeah, who are you going to go steal that would be a notch better that would assure you now that you walk through your schedule for this, this national title. And what are there, like 4 or 5 names on that short list in the country? And Julian's probably, and I guess what? If you do that, where Julian's going? Right where that guy came from.
Yeah, no, for more money.
For more money, so it's like, this is who we have. This is who we love. And same with our offensive linemen. We put our arms around these guys. We love them. We walk, lockstep with them because that's what Ohio State is. That's us.
Look, Mark, you talk about coming down to
guys other places.
You talk about coming down to one play. Number 97, I almost looked his name up for Indiana. That roughing the passer penalty almost cost them the national championship.
Yeah.
So it can come down to one mistake, and that would have nothing to do with the quarterback. I just say this: let's if you are anti Julian Sayin, give yourself a couple weeks. If you come back in a couple weeks and your adrenaline's died down from the end of the season, you still want to change quarterbacks, then you're a moron. Right now, you're good. I can understand it. But if you think we are going to be able to go into the portal, and by the way, you want to spend the time, energy, and effort it takes to recruit a quarterback, which, by the way, you're not spending time doing something else, you go ahead and do that. I am completely confident in Julian Sayin. You're talking about a guy who in his first 8 starts was 8% more accurate than the rest of the country. That's not normal. So it's on the coaches to figure out a system that takes advantage of the fact that you have the most accurate quarterback. Nick Saban seemed to think it was plenty good. Go ahead, Mark.
I'd like to see him run like Bo Nix a little bit, thicken up, and
he's just not like that though. He never has been. Never has been. They recruited him. They know what he wasn't running all over the field out in Carlsbad. And
do you think Julian Sayin is slow? I don't think he's.
I don't think he's slow. It's just is Drew Brees slow? I don't know.
No, you don't know. We've never
it's
really
not
seen
his
it.
game.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. I don't think you need to have a running quarterback. I think you need a
the
quarterback that can get drops back, and if it's 3rd and 6 and it's open, can get like Carson Beck. The great Carson Beck showed that you can run at times, and he is no athlete. That's actually really that's not nice.
Yeah,
he is not the fleet of foot dude that you would expect. So look,
like Bo Nix, I said I'd like him to be like that because Bo Nix is shorter, right? And Julian's 203, I think, and Bo Nix might be 220. He's a
Bo Nix would give his left pinky for Julian Sayin's arm. Okay,
there you go.
If Bo Nix threw the ball like Julian Sayin, he would be John Elway. I'm serious.
But I'm trying to find quarterbacks in his ballpark.
That's an unrealistic request.
But I think that would make Ohio State fans happy if Julian did more of what we're saying.
Here's what's going to happen.
Got that 7-yard scramble on 4th down and 4, and maybe
and he gets popped, and his shoulder comes out, and everyone's like, "Why are we running the quarterback? What are we doing?" That's what's going to happen. But I digress. All right.
That's why we exist.
That's what we're here for. All right. We are now going to take a look at the offensive transfers. Before we do that, I apologize. One item of current events. The Ivy League can't get enough of Ohio State. These Dartmouth guys are trying to get smarter by coming back east to their roots. Garrick, can you tell us about the offensive lineman from Springfield, Ohio, who is going to visit Ohio State? I'm filibustering here so you can bring his name up. And he's coming from Dartmouth. Proud alumni of my dad and my stepfather, by the way. Didn't want my son for hoops. That was a bummer. But Dartmouth, take it away. Is this guy a depth piece, or how do you see it? And then Mark, of course, he's from Ohio, so you know him and you can back that up. Garrick, take it away.
Yeah, the young man's name is Vashon Washington. He is a senior, so he'll have 1 year of eligibility remaining. He is 6'5", 285 pounds per his Dartmouth bio, and 100% this would be a depth addition if so. I looked at his PFF grade yesterday, and it is 58.6 overall, and that's at the FCS level. That's slightly below average for PFF. So he's more of a quality depth piece. If anything, you're bringing in an experienced guy that's racked up over 700 snaps on the offensive line. The good news with him is that he's only allowed 1 sack in more than 700 offensive snaps. So he's held up really well in pass protection. This isn't a guy that I think that they would be bringing in to compete for a starting spot, at least if things go according to plan, you wouldn't think so. This is a guy that was he's played offensive guard, he's played offensive tackle. He would probably be kind of one of your swing offensive linemen that, okay, if Carson Hinsman gets hurt, maybe that's a bad example. If Luke Montgomery gets hurt, he fills in for Luke Montgomery a couple plays. If Austin Searveld gets hurt, he fills in for Austin Searveld a few plays. I think it's good to bring in more linemen to the room. I know obviously fans want some transfer additions, but this isn't the type of guy I would be really excited about, like, oh, this is coming in and he's going to be one of your starting 5. I think this is let's bring in some guy with some experience. Let's solidify our depth a little more than it currently stands right now. Again, the experience factor. But, yeah, I don't think this is a guy that you sign up for 13 games as him as one of your starting 5. I think this is a guy for if we need him in a pinch, I think he can give us some quality reps. What do you think, Mark?
Marcus, you've seen him.
Yeah, I remember him as more of a defensive lineman in high school, but I think he played both. I read where he only gave up 1 sack and over 700 snaps in college. Okay, so he's got a lot of experience. Now, has he ever seen a pass rusher like Bain? Do you think he's ever seen a pass rusher like he's going to see?
What a great name, by the way, Bane.
I know, the Batman.
He's just a villain.
Yeah, he played villain well, too, especially wearing the Miami colors. But so you're right. This is probably a depth piece with a lot of experience. He's a graduate transfer, so he's done with his playing days. And he could go transfer anywhere, and he's a local kid basically from Springfield who's, hey, let's go wear a Buckeye uniform for a year and let's see how it goes. I may get called into duty, and, I think that's what he's kind of banking on, or the vision he would have. Or if I was him, that's the vision I'd have. I'm going to go there. Maybe I'm a rotational piece. Maybe there's an injury where I got to step in, and I have the experience to do something here. I remember him having great feet. I just have this vision of him in high school of being an athlete, which would explain why he's a great pass protector. So, yeah, depth piece. And a lot of these guys we're going to watch are that same thing, experienced depth pieces that, we kind of want a mixture, Dan, like you're saying, of the 5 stars and these guys we're bringing in.
By the way, I buried the lead. He's visiting Friday. That's when this is happening. So we probably will get notification whether he's in or he's out shortly after that.
Notice Mendoza from Buckeye Bill. Notice Mendoza finally figured out how to move the puck. Get away from me. No, he didn't.
I was going to say, he didn't look like it.
I didn't see that. That must have happened in the 5th quarter after I went to bed. I saw Bain wreaking havoc. I saw Akeem Mesidor make himself about $1 million. So that's just inaccurate. All right.
Indiana's right tackle was a major liability yesterday.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't want to get into Carter Smith and Ethan Onionwan ships passing in the night. All right. We're going to break down today your offensive transfers, and then Thursday we'll come back with your defensive transfers. We start with Devin McEwen, who you guys have seen, but Mark, take it away.
Okay, so yeah, we have watched this first receiver before, Devin McEwen out of UTSA, and he really is. If someone got injured, he would step into the starting role and be fine. He's got a lot of experience. This film's pretty impressive. I think we did like 5 plays on a couple of these kids, then maybe 3 or 4 on some of the others. So these highlight films will be pretty quick here. You see he's got speed. He had a big year last year. He fits the mold of a Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. Every receiver we've signed is 5'11", 195. It's like they're just clones of each other. So we like what we see out of him. I think this is the last play here where he's going to scream through. He has a nice route tree. It's not like he's just a go ball guy. Like, he did a variety of things. There was clips of him blocking that we didn't include, I guess, in this reel.
This is him.
But the longer reel with him we did last week, we included some clips of him blocking. Last play here, I knew it was a screen down near the goal line. Next player we're going to talk about is Kyle Parker, the LSU receiver, who is obviously coming with his coach to Ohio State. So someone in the building knows a lot about him. And his film, if you put him in the UTSA uniform and the guy in the UTSA uniform in this film, they're a lot alike. 5'11", 195. Nice little route tree here. There's a couple touchdowns on here, but the rest of these routes are going to be the hitches and slants and some things over the middle. I like the way he gets in and out of his breaks. I think he's got a little explosion there. You see the way he's pulling away. These guys, with this experience, and this is his third year. And I know he was injured a year. I think I talked about each of these guys on the video if you watch it on the site, and I kind of gave their year-by-year breakdown. So some of these guys didn't get the playing time that, would have given all that experience.
Yeah, but Parker was a main guy for them. If you look at their bowl game, he got like 8 targets.
This last year, yep. But the years before, not so much. Kobe Jackson is the other one who was injured. Last year only played, I think, 1 game, only had a few carries, but the year before was his big year. He was a junior college guy that spent 3 years in junior college, had like 1,300 yards there. I think he had 15 touchdowns. That's where he got his main notice. He's a depth piece. He's a change of pace guy. He's not a power guy. He's got a little bit of size and wiggle, but again, not a guy that I would expect to come in and beat anybody out, but just be that guy that kind of rolls in like Ohio State. I think we used 4 running backs last year. The first of the 2 tight ends, Hunter Welsing from Northwestern. I think this is his 7th year, if I'm not correct. I think he had 5 years or 6 years, 5 years at Northwestern. He's a graduate transfer. He didn't play much his first couple years. He's the definition of a grinder that put his time in. And then this year he came out of his shell, became like a leading passing option for them. I think he had 27 or 30 balls. He fills this fullback, H-back type thing. He makes a heck of a catch here. I mean, that's a –
By the way, look at the clock.
Yeah, that's a body control play there. Mason Williams is from Agador, Ohio, went down to Ohio U. He's a dual threat guy. And you can see here, he's got a big body, 6'5", 260 pounds. You know what he's going to be able to do? Block. That's the main thing. They also say he's keen or he's kind of in the right place at the right time all the time. You see him with the block downfield there on the jet screen. This is another guy. You see him line up at fullback. So we're bringing in 2 more tight ends who do what I've been breaking down all year on Buckeye in the Sky, is seeing tight ends in the backfield, used as motion guys, used as kick-out blockers. Not the greatest ball there, but he gets
that's a nice play for a big guy to stop, turn, and get in. That's usually a tackle for loss.
Yeah, Justin Martin, we're going to watch him from UCLA. He completed 25 passes at UCLA, and we're going to watch, I think, 5 of his best completions. That's a nice throw back across the body. 6'5", 230. He's going to look like Tavian St. Clair when he walks in the room. He's going to have that stature. Can Billy Fessler and Ryan Day in this offense bring something out of this kid? He's a good athlete. He went to Maryland. I think he played in 1 game, got hurt, had 1 rush for 2 yards. So no experience last year at Maryland. This is the only experience he has. There's a raw talent there. I don't know how.
Here he is, Mark. I
saved the best for last. Okay. Like I literally made this last night. I was going to say, anyone who wants a quiz question, that's a 54-yarder. This is a 53-yarder. These are good by 5 or 10 yards. Okay. He was perfect under 40 yards, 39 of 39 for extra points. This is the guy we needed. He's got 3 years left of eligibility. So know his name. He's going to be the most – when he makes his first kick, the stadium may erupt with the pressure that's around our kicking situation.
If he does kick off his first kickoff and it goes out of bounds, right back to Baylor. I'm not doing that again.
He's legit too good right now. And you know what? I don't want to jinx the kid. Kickers are a fickle human being. If you know, they're almost like a sub creature on the team. They kind of go on their own field and they do their own thing. And there's a lot of black magic that goes involved to their streak. So right now he's on one and he's got the talent. But yeah, I hope he can kick in the cold. I hope things like that don't bother him. But we needed some guy like that. And I got to believe he's the best kicker in the country, and we nabbed him.
I love the idea of the extended runway too. It's not just for a year. Hopefully, we can stop taking the extended medicine for 3 years and then get back to it. And
Rob Keys, or Coach Keys, is a very happy man. That is the special teams coach for Ohio State, because his job at practice now, he just watches things go in, and he doesn't have to stress about the misses or why they're missing or if the pressure's too much. I think his job just got much easier.
I am knocking on wood as we speak. Appreciate these guys stopping by. Like I said, we'll be back on Thursday. We'll get deep dive on the defensive transfers. There's more of them than there is on offense. Should be fun. Have a good one, Nutters.